Hi there everyone, and welcome to another fly tying video from Nordic Anglers. My name is Daniel, and today we're gonna do a ragworm. This is the hover worm, which is basically a further development of the second worm, which is one of the patterns that I really like and have fished and caught a lot of fish with. But sometimes it's nice to have a worm that just hovers quite a lot more, and that is the idea behind this one, because basically it's the same composition as the second worm. It's a worm pattern that's made from 3 shanks and a hook, so it has the movement of a worm, but we have added here, and the new thing to this is we've added a carapace of foam, which will make the fly hover really well. It will look exactly like the real thing. So it's something to consider next time you sit at your vise tying a worm. Should it have a carapace made from foam? So basically that's it. New and improved. Also, we've updated the colors a bit. The second worm, if you haven't seen that one, has some great colors, and you can also, of course, just add some foam to that one if that's what you want. But basically, this is a great worm pattern. It fishes really well, and it has that really perfect balance in the water, so it just hovers there in the waves exactly like the ragworm does. And the ragworm fishing is something, the ragworms is something that sea trouts knows, sea trouts eats a lot of, so you need to have ragworms in your fly box. And why not make one of these? Now we're gonna tie the hover worm. Det der. Here goes the hover worm. I know that out there's a lot of guys that also fish for tarpon with polychaete worms or ragworms. You can of course do this pattern for those as well, but this is intended for sea trouts, and if you want to do something like this for tarpon, then you should probably adjust the hook size and stuff. But, well, basically this is a fairly simple fly. It's primarily based around the same techniques, just doing it a few times, 4 times to be exact. So the tying here is relatively easy. Is not that demanding on neither the tire, or it's basically just doing the same steps a few times, and then you have a very nice looking and very good fly that fishes really well. And those are well, in my opinion, the best ones, those that fishes really well. So basically I have stripped down some marabou feathers in both black and purple, and I have mixed this with some pearl dubbing, basically to get a mix that looks kind of like this. And the way I've done it, I can see I'm actually gonna need a bit more, so I can do some for you. I basically just rip off the fibers of a marabou feather like this, add it to my waste basket that I have on my vise. Then I take some pearl dubbing, and basically what I do is I take all of this and then I pull it apart in my fingers, and I put it on top of itself, basically, and turn it over, flip it over every single time to create some dubbing that is very variated in both lengths and texture. And the idea here is to make a very uneven and just really lively dubbing. And for this purpose, then this way of doing it works really well. But there is one thing to consider, and that is that you're gonna completely get marabou everywhere. So if you can, I would suggest that you do this outside, or at least have a vacuum close to hand, or alarm the rest of your family and your wife and stuff, because once you start embarking on this, you're gonna have a mess on your hands. And that's just something to take into account. That's just a fact of it. So if you start tying these, then tie all the ones that you need, and if you have leftover dubbing mix, then stow it away in a bag so you have it for future use. because every time you make this, you're gonna make a mess. I haven't secured the hook properly there. Basically, I just took a small amount of this. I placed it on top of the hook, tied it down, and then turned over the material that was pointing forward. And this creates a raggy tail for a raggy fly. Then we need to tie down the first carapace. I'm just going to use a foam sheet like this and cut a piece that is maybe 2-3 millimeters thick, depending on the size and of hook and the size of shank that you use and the overall length of the fly. The hook I use here is an Eric's Gammarus, curved Gammarus in size 8. You could use a 6 as well, but for this size of fly, the 8 is fairly nice. Gonna find my shanks already. I have them ready at hand. Then I'm basically just gonna make a small, not very dense body of the marabou and flesh. There we go. And I'm just gonna turn this on top of the foam here, all the way up to the eye of the fly. Take a bit more. Not a lot, but a bit more. The idea here is not to wrap this too tight around the thread, so it's going to be easy for you to pull out some of the fibers here if needed. But also, in order to basically get this looking the right way, I'm going to take a small bundle more of the dubbing, and I'm just going to tie it all the way around the body here, just where the eye is. So this is going to create kind of a false hackle. I'm going to turn this back, tie in front of it, and then I'm going to use the foam here to create a carapace, but also to ensure that the materials are gonna stick out on both sides, like on the actual worm. It's important here that you cut the foam very, very close to the origins of where you tied it down, because otherwise you're going to have a bit of a problem with the shanks not moving very well. If there's foam covering the eye, then the shanks are not going to have the correct level of movement freedom of movement. I'm going to take a shank. These are 12 millimeters, and I'm going to take 3 of those. Open it with my pliers. That was the first section, and basically from here on out it's just rinse and repeat. That annoys me a bit. There we go. Closing down the shank. These are spawn shanks, and you can of course buy the one size that you want for this, but you can also buy an assortment like this where you have all the different sizes of shanks. And I really like this assortment because it gives me a lot of freedom to basically mix things up if that's what I want, and that's really cool. So the assortment of the spawn shank is a really nice product. I can see there is some leftover olive marabou in my mix as well, and that's basically just because there were a little of that laying around in the wastebasket when I started. Then I do exactly the same, but this should not be as heavy dressed as the tail part. Basically just a small amount of marabou tied down like a false hackle to cover up the intersection of where the shank and the hook met up. Then the carapace. Be sure that you have covered the foam, so you have pulled out as much air from the foam as possible, because it's going to be enough to actually have just the carapace. and you don't need a lot more uplift in the fly than that. Basically just cover this in a bit of dubbing. There we go. Taking another small bundle to tie down as the false hackle. And I try to get this all the way around the shank here. There we go. Pull this back, tie on top. Fold the marabou dubbing out to the sides. Make the carapace. Cut the foam as close to where it was secured as possible. Whip finish. Done with the next section. In with a new shank. This fly has almost the perfect walk in the water. It has all the movements because of the shanks, and also it has that lazy walk that these polychaete worms have. Because the polychaete worm, when they swarm, it's basically because they are, they're spawning. So they're not designed to be swimming free in the water column as they do. They can do that, but it's not their main function. And this makes them quite slow swimmers and very, very easy prey for sea trout. So the way I fish this is also it's to replicate that basically I retrieve this in very long, very slow retrieves, but do not be but still when the sea trout grabs this, they are often used to seeing these, and they know there are a lot of food, so they basically just swallow them. That is why very often when you fish like this and you fish slow, the fish will recognize this is a big meal and they will just grab the fly and eat it. So your percentage of hooking and stuff is fairly good. Often they just grab the fly and you're in. I don't know where my foam went, so I just made a new piece. Add a bit of the dubbing. I'm gonna fish this tomorrow, Stefan. I am. I really like this one. There we go. Hopefully we'll see some worm action tomorrow. No pun intended. I don't know why that always is. It always just seems to find us those type of jokes, Stefan. Or me, at least. It's probably mostly me.
You don't really let him go by, do you?
No. Sorry about the phone. That's just the... I thought I had put it on silent, but I must have forgot. I'm gonna call them back, of course. You have to do that when you run a shop. But right now we're doing videos. Next section was done. And then the final section now. Well, when you actually look at the profile of these worms, you will see that they actually have a lot of swimmers or feelers or gills or whatever they are, but mainly on the sides, and they use these to actually swim with. So if you have the profile of the fly, it's of the polychaete worm, it's a relatively broad but not very high creature. worm. So it's kind of flattened, but quite broad, and you get some of the effect and profile like that with this fly because of the carapace. Of course, you could say that if you really wanted to have this, truly have this completely perfect shape, you could probably do it by adding a carapace to the underside of the fly as well. But if you did that, then you would have where did my foam go? Then you would have too much foam. It would basically give too much uplift. And also, if you had foam on the bottom as well, there is a chance that the fly would not move straight in the water. So we're not going to do that. We're only going to have the carapace on top. I have seen some polykeyed patterns where they actually have also some kind of carapace on the bottom of the fly as well, and that looks quite good. But for this pattern, that would not be the ideal. Damn it! I got a lot of marabou in my nose now. If you have the option, tie these outside, but not if it's too windy. Then you will very, very, very quickly lose all of your materials.
And patience.
So basically, tie this in summer when it's not needed in your box. Outside when it's nice and warm, and perhaps you have a gin and tonic. I don't know. You could have. It's been known to happen that fly tyers had a gin and tonic or something, and of course on a day without no winds, or basically just have the vacuum close to hand. There we go. Then I'm gonna turn the foam here, and because I really like to have something that stands a bit out here in the front of the fly, I'm gonna tie down the foam, cut the foam off, and I'm gonna finish this off with a hackle, with a small hackle of partridge, because basically it looks awesome. And that is the main reason to do it, because it looks nice. Let me just find the right feather here. That one. I have somehow misplaced my hackle plier, so I'm gonna do this by hand. It is a lot easier with a hackle plier, so if you have a hackle plier, then do that. But I've misplaced mine today. And it's not like I have a whole store full of hackle pliers, you know? But I think it would be a waste, basically, just because things are a bit messy, just to, you know, open a new hackle plier. I should just go and find mine. But we're in the middle of the video, so I'm just gonna do this the old hard way. That was the finishing touch. There we go. Just a small partridge hackle in front. Looks neat, looks nice. Then a whip finish, of course, some sabber gap or some varnish. And then it's important to basically just take a look at the fly. Just imagine me spraying on some sabber gap. Done. Then you take a look at the fly. You can maybe brush some of these the dubbing down, so you can really see the segmentations here with the foam all the way up here, and you can see this is not too heavy dressed. If you want it to be more bulky, if you want it to be more fluffy, then basically you can just start picking out some of the dubbing that is on the body. I think this is actually quite spot on, so I'm not going to do anything about it. If you see that you have way too much material, then the marabou is relatively frail. So basically you can just pull some out until you have exactly the tapering that you want. But I think I actually nailed this one. So there you have the 4 different sections. You can really see how this just moves erratic. Just here, it's gonna do the same in the water. It's gonna hover because of the foam, and basically this is the newest evolution on our ongoing saga of polycrete worm patterns, on ragworms patterns. And of course, if you would like other colors, then basically just do other colors. But lots of them are really dark and have these purpley hue things to them. So the black and purple is one of the best bets for color combinations for these worms as well. So the hover worm. So now you know how to tie these, the hover worm. Basically, I just want to encourage you to check out our website, our web shop. It's called Nordic Anglers, and you can find the complete material kit to this fly and all the other YouTube flies. And we have all the major brands, all that is something of importance of fly fishing, or almost at least. We have that at Nordic Anglers. So it would mean a lot to us if you would swing by, check out some fly tying, check out some fly fishing gear, and perhaps you would find something that you need, and we would appreciate that very much. So until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck out on the water.